Hello, everybody.
I'm not Betsy.
So we have a special guest with us today. This is not bingo. This is Global Spotlight. Betsy is not available today, so Sandy is filling in, so kindly of her.
I love filling it, but I also love hanging out with you, David. So thanks for the invite.
Thank you. So we are going to review a new country today, and then we are going to talk about using Wikipedia in your research. And I think a lot of us are familiar with Wikipedia, but maybe don't know all the little tricks and tools that are available to us. So we're going to talk about some of those. But first, let's do a review, as I always do. We get many viewers who have never tuned in before, aren't familiar with the global project. So we always want to start out with just a little primer on what we're all about. And then we'll go into guessing our country of the month. So the Global Project is an umbrella project that oversees all of the smaller projects on WikiTree that are not large enough yet to have their own full project status. And that includes right now just 4 projects that are not country projects. We have our Died at Sea project, which has been up for a couple of months now, and it seems to be doing pretty well. That is for anybody who died at sea, whether it was during a war, whether it was in a shipwreck, whether they just got sick while on a cruise and passed away. Anybody that died at sea, or in other words, did not die in a particular country and can't be assigned to a country, they belong to the Died at Sea project.
That's why it's so cool that you have this, because you're working on countries and it specifically, but you're right. You have this group of individuals that died without a country.
Yeah. And it's amazing how many there are out there. And again, not just for the obvious, the military battles or some good ships in the colonial era, but people that just passed away on a cruise or whatever. First responders is for anybody who was a fireman, police officer. It's a way to honor not just American first responders, but first responders from around the world. That project's been around quite a while. It's a little bit slow right now, so if anybody's interested in that and wants to help perk it up, they can always use new members. We have a new project that's been added to our roster, and that's the language volunteers. I haven't done much with that yet. We just adopted it recently, but it's basically a place for people to volunteer their skills to help other people translate documents, books, etc. We are also talking about expanding that into other areas of related to language. We have a lot of as the global project, we work with languages all around the world, and sometimes not just translating documents, but figuring out how to enter information into a profile, how to work out the names, how to the place names. All of that is kind of related to that language topic. So we're looking into maybe expanding that into other areas. So again, if you've got any ideas, or if you're interested in foreign languages, foreign being whatever language you don't normally speak, we would be happy to hear your ideas.
And how many times a day do you see on G2G, I need help transcribing this, French to English, Dutch to English, German to English. We see that a lot. So is that something this group would do as well?
Oh yeah, and I mean anything that has to do with language, even if it's not something that we were intending to do, if somebody's got an idea or a subject they'd like to cover, bring us the idea and we'll figure out how to fit it in. So you don't have to fit into our scheme of things. You can come up with your own ideas and we'll find a place for you.
That's great.
which is how some of these came up. The Died at Sea project was just a single member who had an idea and asked if she could, get our blessing, and we gave it, and she's got a project going now. So it's really that simple. And then Remember the Children, which Sandy's been a big part of.
Yep.
That's for all the children that died prior to their 18th birthday and tend to get overlooked in terms of profile writing. We don't usually, or we often neglect to tell their stories. So
it's shocking how many people will not add a profile for a child that died if they're in a family census or something. I don't know if they think, oh, well, they died, they didn't get married and have kids, so don't bother. It is shocking how many do not have profiles on WikiTree. But the other shocking thing is there's oftentimes a birth or a death in particular. That's how we know they died young, that you could write a small bio, just a tiny biography for that. And just what did they die of, and maybe add a category of that particular illness. So thanks, David.
Yeah, in particular, if they lived, several years, if they were 7, 8 years old, there's a lot that can be
added,
deducted about what their life might have been like growing up in New York City or a farm in Iowa, wherever they were.
I agree. Okay.
So if on top of these 4, if you have any ideas for a topic that you would like to cover, it can be on anything, and you'd like to get other members to join in and help you with it, again, let us know. And if it doesn't fit under one of the other projects, for most of you know that I also do the Notables project, so we can often put them there. We're working on increasing our baseball project right now with a couple members. We've got our Olympics project going, so we can do it under the Notables. But if it doesn't fit under the Notables or under one of the other country projects, we'll stick it here under Global and get you started. And we'll give you the support you need to get it going. So, no idea is a bad idea. If you can get a couple people to join you, that's all it takes.
You never know. Somebody else might have an idea, but didn't know they could ask or create it. So join together. I like your idea. So next, you want to go to the country?
Yeah. So then we have the country projects, and this is our other big. This was just added in January. On January 1st, it premiered. And as I'm talking, I'm going to apologize for my voice. I have not talked all day, and I have medication that makes my voice hoarse, and I didn't know it until I just now started talking. I can feel it. I can feel it going. So, excuse me if I'm if I get a little bit scratchiness here.
Before we jump into the country projects, I'm sorry, I did miss a question. And can we see, would an airplane that crashes into the sea count for the Died at Sea project? What do you think?
I would say yes.
I would too.
Yeah. Because again, it's for anybody that didn't die on land belonging to a country. So, yeah, I would think air crashes would, just like if it crashed in France, you would put their place of death as France. So if they crashed into the ocean.
I agree, and add like the accidental death category too, maybe something like that. Yeah. So global country.
So the country projects, we have 23 top level projects related to various countries: France, Sweden, Germany, all the big names. But that leaves about 175 countries or so that did not have projects. So we are in the process of adding projects for every country of the world. And that comes to 199 total. Right now, I haven't done the math in a while, but we're up to probably close to 100 countries added. We slowed down a little bit because we were going so fast we weren't giving them the attention that they needed. So as people request countries, we add them. It only takes us about a day or two to add a country. But if we don't have a country that you are interested in active right now, let us know, and we can move you to the top of the list and get your country opened.
But I need to pause for a second. When he says it takes a day or two to add a country, you'd be amazed what David does. I mean, you give them more than just a little tiny blank space page. You give them a lot, right?
Well, it's 4 pages of material, and that's what we'll take a look at when we do our country of the week. But yeah, to give you an example, today's country I started this morning. So, but I didn't get it done. I have to actually clarify that. I got it almost done, but I forgot to do my notables. And that's the big time consuming part, is because we always have a list of notables from that country, but that takes tracking them down, seeing if they already have profiles, seeing if the profiles are open, all of that kind of stuff. So there's some extra steps that go into that. But yeah, we kind of got it down to a formula, so it doesn't take that long. But the idea is to give you a kind of a turnkey website, so that you can, if you're interested in taking over a country as a project coordinator, we'll have the basic roots of the project there for you, and you can then do what you want with it. You can take it in whatever direction you like. The first thing we ask is that you post something on G2G and try to get some advertising and get some members in there so that others can join with you. And then it's up to you and your team to figure out what you want to work on. So that's the first question I often get from coordinators is, well, what do you want me to do? And that's up to you. You do what you'd like. If you want to work on your, if you have your own families from that country, you want to work on your own family's genealogy, go ahead. If you want to work on notables, go ahead. If you want to come up with some guidelines in terms of languages, or come up with a maps page to show different regions of the country, where the ethnic groups are from, all that stuff. Different. Every project's different. Just like our 23 top level countries. If you go over to the Sweden project, they may be doing something different than the Spain project. So it's really up to their team to figure it out. And as your team grows, you can branch into multiple areas. So somebody may want to work on notables. Somebody else may not be interested in notables. They want to do languages. That's fine. You can split off into various subgroups.
And I laugh because you say you give them a basic country. I mean, if you've not seen what David does, you're in for a treat. It's literally walking into your own mini project on WikiTree, ready to go, hit the ground running. It's fantastic what you do.
And our philosophy in this was that we had a hypothesis that there were a lot of people out there who want to do projects but don't know where to begin, and
it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, it's intimidating. You don't know where to start. Yeah. We say create a free space page. Well, a lot of people don't know what a free space page is, so that doesn't help. So we will give you the free space page. It's actually not a free space page. It's an actual project page, and there's some differences which we will explain to you. So it is an actual official project, because anybody can create a free space page on any topic you want, even if there's somebody else that's already created one. If you want to create a second, there's nothing to stop you from doing that. But only certain free space pages get moved up to official project status. So all of these are official WikiTree projects. And if you look at the list of names, the ones that are dark are the ones that we have pages for. The ones that are light are the ones that we are still pending. And but we can make those, like I said, we can make them real quickly.
And the asterisk means that it's a top level.
It means it's top level. So the asterisks, we don't oversee those. We provide a link to their pages, but we have no oversight of the top tier country pages.
So David, can I ask you a question then? If I'm seeing that Fiji is here and it's bold, it's not like, for example, Georgia down below, does that also mean that they have somebody already working?
No. Okay. You cannot tell from this page which pages have coordinators and which don't. In order to do that, you have to go to the page, and you'll see on the home page whether there's a coordinator listed or not. It'll say vacant if there's not.
And I picked the easy one because I know this one is already.
So there in the box there, you'll see under coordinator, it has a name. And then the members are listed underneath the box there. So they've actually got quite a few people.
Yeah, this is great because this kind of explains or shows what you just explained. Mark did a GGG, and he got more members to help him out as well.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. So, what about today?
Okay.
Which country are we talking about today?
We're going.
And I don't know. I have no clue.
Yeah, I haven't told Sandy. We're going to play a little guessing game. This one's not going to be as hard as some of them, but
so here we go, guys.
Pictures. Let's see if anybody can get close, or if anybody can guess correctly. I've got about 4 or 5
pictures. This one was telling to me. This one was the city was. I thought I had it maybe, but I think this one was really telling to me how I could narrow down the area. And I know Darren's in the audience, and Darren's really good at guessing.
For some reason,
this one was extremely telling to me. So, anybody have any guesses yet?
Do we want to guess what continent, what region?
Nice temp this time of year. So, what do you guys think? We've got a couple more pictures, but anybody want to help narrow it down for us? I like your idea, David. What continent are we at, guys? What do you think, David?
Well, we got a continent, correct?
Yay, that's what I thought too, John. Okay. And then this one's kind of telling too. Yeah. I mean, this one kind of helps confirm.
It confirms the continent.
What about this? Zimbabwe.
Yep. I think Darren got it.
That was my guess too. Yeah. Italy.
Sandy did guess it earlier, but I didn't tell her.
Looks like Victoria Falls. And even when I guessed beforehand, he didn't tell me. Didn't tell me at all. What the world is this too?
So for those of you that tuned into the midnight hangout the other night for the Connect-a-thon, I talked about my great-grandfather's hippopotamus tooth, and I promised to get a picture, but then I forgot and didn't get it to you in the hangout. But this is a hippopotamus tooth that my great-grandfather was the head of the Southern California Dental Association. And back in, he got his license in 1901, so early 1900s. And during the Depression, a lot of people couldn't pay for the dentist. So he took payment in kind. People brought him gifts. He did a lot of work with the immigrants, and they often gave him things from their home country. So we still have a number of collectibles from around the world that were given to him in payment for. I often thought it was strange because we'd have items from Italy and from Spain, and we didn't have any ancestors. But that's where they all ultimately came from. And somebody paid him with a hippopotamus tooth, which was really apropos for a dentist.
So a little different for their.
Yeah. And so I know. I don't have the actual tooth in my possession. My father still has that tooth.
How big is it? How big
well,
is
if you go to the next picture.
I don't think I have it.
You don't have the next picture up?
Let me see.
Oh, you go down to view all. It probably went to the next page.
Let's see. There we go.
There you go. So
that thing's huge. That thing is. It means
so it's yeah. So it's about 5 inches tall. This is the I guess you'd say the bottom of the tooth, and then the roots going up towards the top of the photo. But it's bigger. It's probably about the size of my hand. And if you go back, you can see what it looks like in the hip. That's why I chose this particular picture.
That's a good idea.
See the teeth in there.
So then let's talk about
we're going to Zimbabwe.
Going to Zimbabwe. And why'd you pick this one?
Because that's where they have hippopotamuses.
And you wanted to take
my picture.
But there's got to be some others, right? And I laugh about
there are.
Because we were going to show it during the Midnight Madness, and it was all my fault that we forgot to show it. And then it worked out great because we're in Zimbabwe and we can show That's
So,
right.
so I picked Zimbabwe. I picked Africa because I wanted to show the tooth, and we haven't been to Africa, to my knowledge. I don't believe we've been to Africa. Um, and there are several countries where there are hippos, which actually it surprised me how far north they go up into Sudan and Ethiopia, which I don't think of as big animal countries. I think of dry desert, but I'm probably wrong on that. Um, but Zimbabwe was one that I had a lot of information on. I was able to get some significant notables, and it has an interesting history. That one of the things that one of the purposes of doing this show is not so much to profile just the individual country, but to show what you can learn about a country in terms of doing genealogical research when you start out knowing nothing about a country. And Zimbabwe kind of played into that pretty well.
I think also if you're into history, geography in general, that's kind of cool. David, can I pause you 1 second to brag
Yes.
on you just a bit? So remember how we said that he gives you a basic country page, a country project? Look at all these tabs. This is not basic, David. This is fantastic that what you do. You set them up with the tabs and this is going to be consistent, right? All the way through your projects.
Yeah, and so they all start out consistent, but the team is able to change it up if they choose to. The reason I say basic is that this is not I'm not writing novels. I've got it's maybe not a basic page, but the information is the basics that you need to get started.
It's awesome what you give us.
Yeah, there's a whole lot more that can go into these. But yeah, I try to give you everything you need so that you can. So from day one, you can actually start doing research and having some fun, and not have to spend the time trying to figure out how to code a web page.
Yes, that's perfect. That's a perfect way to say it. You can start out having fun. I love that. Do we have members in chat that are project coordinators already?
In chat? Oh yeah.
If you are, tell us what your country is as we go through Zimbabwe. What would you like to show us next with Zimbabwe?
So let's go. So this first page is this is identical on every single country page. It just tells about the project itself. But if we go to the second tab that has the country name on it, Zimbabwe, this is where you get some basic encyclopedic background on the country. And again, it's not just to profile the country in general, but it's to give you data that you're going to need if you want to learn about the country in terms, again, of doing your genealogical research. So right there, we've got the administrative divisions. In the United States, for example, if you know that your ancestor lived in the United States, you're going to have a hard time finding the records if you can't get any more specific than that. You need to know the county that they lived in, well, the state and then the county. Otherwise, you're not going to find it. So in Zimbabwe, you need to know what province that they lived in. There's 8 provinces and then 2 cities that qualify, have the same status as a province. And you're going to need to know that because that's where your records are going to be. So if you just know that your ancestors are from Zimbabwe, you're going to have a tough time narrowing it down. Now, again, you may find if you take over Zimbabwe as a coordinator, you may find that records are kept even more locally, and maybe you want to come up with subdivisions or other lists of that. I leave that for the team to decide. The history. Now, usually the history is going to be much longer, but again, I kind of got a late start on this one. So this is a real limited history. I'm going to expand it later on. But basically, the history of Zimbabwe is that it was run by various African kingdoms up until the British came in. I believe that was in right around the beginning of the 19th century, 1800s. And at that point, they it became Rhodesia. So if your ancestors are from Rhodesia and you look on a map today, you're not going to find Rhodesia. You're going to find Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is the new name for Rhodesia, and Zimbabwe was the name that it took when the British were kicked out and they received independence. So you basically got three chapters. You've got pre-European, you've got the British colonial period when it was Rhodesia, and you've got the post-colonial period, which is Zimbabwe. Now that's going to make a difference because if your ancestors were Black Africans, you may have roots that go way back, but you're probably not going to find records that go way back. The records probably aren't going to start until the British got there. And at that point, your records very well may not be in Zimbabwe. They may be in the archives in London.
That's right.
We found that with a number of our countries, India and others, that the records were actually not in the actual country. They were taken by the colonists back to their home countries, whether that's France, Germany, Portugal, wherever they were. So there's a 100-year period there where your records may not even be in Zimbabwe. More recently, your records are going to be in Zimbabwe, and they're probably going to be fairly easy to interpret because they're going to be based on British colonial records. So you're not going to have as hard a time as it might seem. They also speak English, so most of the records are going to be in English. The English is they have 16 official languages in Zimbabwe.
I know, I'm looking at this and I'm like, that's a lot.
And that's not as many as some of the countries that we've come across. Although for official countries, it is. I mean, official languages. But we've had some like India that have, 40, 50 languages they speak. They're not all official. But they use English for basic, for business, for government records. So your records are going to be in English. You got your religions there. It's primarily a Christian community.
I was surprised at that.
Yeah, predominantly Christian, 80% Christian, a little bit of Muslim, and very little of anything else. That's important because the primary Christian church is the Catholic Church. Catholic Church keeps really detailed records.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you may not have as hard. I haven't actually done the research, so I'm not going to say whether it's easy or hard, but I'll say it may not be as hard as it seems because you've got the Catholic Church in there keeping records. You've got the British government keeping records. So the information may be fairly easy to obtain. That said, I always put the naming conventions. Let me say that there isn't much to Zimbabwe, and they have first name, last name, just like most of much of the world. But this is important for other countries where they maybe do the family name first, or where they have honorifics that are embedded into their name that you've got to decipher out. So those would be Arabic names, Asian, Chinese, Japanese, Korean names. But some Zimbabwean names are pretty straightforward, first name, last name. But let's skip to the references.
Okay.
And let me show when
Right.
I'm talking about the resources. So when I talk about it being easy, not easy, and again, I haven't done this, but every country is going to come with a starting page of resources, and it's going to be primarily the same list. It's going to be Wikipedia, Family Search, Ancestry, Cindy's List, World Gen Web, the U.S. National Archives, and then the nation's own archives. So Family Search, if you don't know that, Family Search has basically an encyclopedic wiki that gives you information on every country of the world and has links and sources. Now, this is a wiki, which means it's created by its members, so it's subject to errors. and some countries are much more detailed than others. But it's a really good starting spot for any country that you happen to be researching.
And this is a great map. I could see somebody taking this country over, and maybe the members would like to take one of the provinces and things. This is really a great map.
And if you're interested in just getting profiles on board, so one of the things that is a frustration for people who come from countries other than the United States, Europe, and those that were European based, let's say Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, is that it's very hard to link when you're on Wikipedia, on WikiTree, because we don't have the profiles up yet. So if you were able to find like a census or, baptismal records from a community, a church, a cemetery, and you wanted to get those onto WikiTree, that just opens up a bunch of doors for somebody else to come along and connect their family. So as we're trying to connect, I'm trying to encourage people from around the world to join, one of the first things we need to do is have well, first off, we need to have the projects for them to join, but then we need to have the profiles up for them to be able to connect. And we find this when we do a lot of our notables projects. If we start doing African and Asian profiles in some of the other more obscure, genealogically obscure countries, we can get 200 family members added and still not be anywhere close to finding a connection. U.S. Black History has that same problem with trying to get their profiles connected, just because there's a lack of profiles to connect to. So what you wind up having to do is finding somebody in that family that married a European, and that opens up your door. We want to get to the point where that's not necessary, where you can be African and connect to other African profiles, or be Brazilian and connect to other Brazilian profiles, whatever country it happens to be.
And that helps with the global project, is because I think one of the main reasons that you brought it online is not only to make WikiTree more global, but connect. We talk about the global tree. It seemed like a no-brainer. Yep.
And one of the things I'm thinking of adding here is some statistics on how many Zimbabweans live in countries outside of Zimbabwe. How many live in America? How many live in France and England? And I was looking that up for Zimbabwe. The vast majority live in South Africa, of those that don't live in Zimbabwe. But there are actually some countries where there are more people living outside the country than there are actually in the country, for various reasons. So that's always interesting too. But I may add a section and put some of those numbers up, because it would be interesting to know, because those are the people that are going to be searching there. If you live in Zimbabwe, you probably already know you're from Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
But if you live in France, you may not know that history. So that would be interesting to be able to search that out. Now you look here, I was talking about easy versus not easy.
Yeah.
Ancestry has no Zimbabwe related records. Yet you can go down to the Zimbabwean National Archives, and you can actually contact them directly. And the link is bad.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to fix that. Now, apparently the National Archives is in good shape, but the National Library had 30 employees, but they had to lay off 25 of them. So they only have 5 people working there right now. And they also do not have a website up currently. So they're struggling a little bit. But that's the first time that I recall not being able to find a website for either a National Library or a National Archives. Every country that I've added has had both. Not only has both, but has them both online. And I've mentioned this before in some of the other episodes, but even Afghanistan, with the current Taliban in place, has a National Archives. And I emailed them, and they said yes, they are up and running, and would be happy to help with research if we need it. So if you got Afghani ancestors, don't be afraid to reach out to them. But that goes for just about every country, in the world. Like I said, so far I have yet to come up with a country that doesn't have one or the other at least.
And this is a good link. It's just that my computer does not want to access it because of some of the security protocols that I have on my particular computer. So everybody else's computer might bring it up.
Check them, so that threw me there for a minute, but okay.
Yeah.
The U.S. Library of Congress I put on there as well, but they have various what they call reading rooms, and they have resources for areas all over the world. It's a little bit hard to navigate, so some of them will also have country sections and pamphlets available on how to do research in those countries. It's like I said, it's a little hard to navigate, so I've given up trying to track down the individual country pages, and I just put the continental links there. But the U.S. Library of Congress has records for all over the world, and I imagine most of the big European countries are going to have similar things. I would imagine that England, France, Germany, et cetera, have their own libraries that will have records from around the world. And again, if they were the actual colonizing nation, they're going to have a lot of material from that period. Now, the people page is a little bit it's weak today. I didn't get around to finishing it. So
I gotta laugh, David. This is not weak.
Well, okay, except these Zimbabwean notables, those are all Afghanis.
Oh, okay.
That is the president of Afghanistan.
Okay.
And under that, I always put the last notable, I'm sorry, the last monarch from that country. So if you scroll just another inch down, this is the last reigning African king prior to the British taking over. And
well, now I'm curious. So this is already on WikiTree. Did you created?
Well, I created it. Yeah,
this is great.
But
so you're giving us a lot.
He is a royal, and he has family that's documented. So
and you got a good point. Royal, documented. Those are easier than anything else you're going to find. Which is when David and I usually talk about right now. Just because they're notable doesn't mean you can't work on them. Please work on them.
Absolutely. So let's, before time gets completely away from us, let's head on over to Wikipedia.
Okay. This is just the homepage of Wikipedia.
So this is the homepage of Wikipedia. So the first thing that I want to say, I hear this all the time, G2G and other places, that either Wikipedia is not a source or that Wikipedia is not a valid source. It's obviously a source because anywhere where you get information, good or bad, is a source. It could be a bad source, but it's a source. But it's not necessarily an invalid source. It depends on what your purpose is. So if you are submitting, a genealogical article to the New England Historic Genealogical Society, you probably shouldn't be quoting Wikipedia. But if you're just doing it for your family, if you're just doing it for your own purposes, there's a number of studies, a number of peer-reviewed studies that show that Wikipedia's information is just as good as most other encyclopedic type sources, such as Encyclopedia Britannica and others. So that doesn't mean it's perfect. And one flaw that it has in that regard is that anybody can go in at any time and change things. But Wikipedia tends to be very quick to catch those things and fix them. So general information, if you want to know about the basic history of a country, there's nothing wrong with using Wikipedia to get that information. Again, if you're writing for your doctoral thesis, maybe stay away from Wikipedia. But and Encyclopedia Britannica for that matter. But for general purposes, it's a pretty good resource. It also is a good place to get clues. So you might not want to take it at face value, but just like a Ancestry family tree or Family Search family tree. They may provide you a name, a date, and you don't want to take that at face value, but it gives you a clue on where to start researching. Now, you're not going to probably find, unless your ancestors are famous, you're probably not going to find much on them on Wikipedia, but you can find information about, what languages were spoken in your country, what are the political division or the administrative divisions, what's the largest city in your country, all that stuff. Wikipedia is absolutely fine. They have, if you scroll down to the very bottom of this page, as Sandy just did, you'll also see a number of other links to various wiki type pages. And I'm not going to go over all of these today because we only have about 20 minutes available to us. But these are definitely worth exploring. If you think that Wikipedia is just an encyclopedia, you're wrong. It's very much like trying to describe all that's available on Wikipedia is like trying to describe everything that's available on WikiTree. You can't spend 5 minutes explaining WikiTree to somebody and cover everything. The same with Wikipedia. There's a lot of information and a lot of tools, not just info, but tools you can use. So I want to talk about a few things that you may or may not be aware of.
And probably most people use, as you mentioned, tools.
Well, and so I don't know, that would be interesting to know from people viewing today, how many people are even familiar with the tool drop-down menu. But the tool, if you haven't clicked on the tool drop-down menu, it's worth your while to click on it. And just like we tell you on WikiTree to start clicking on things and explore these different options here. Now, my vision is not great on the screen right now. It's kind of blurry, but I'm going to look for
Wikidata.
Actually, you know what I'd rather do before we do Wikidata. Let's do the pictures.
Okay, the pictures. So we have an example of the River Trent.
Yeah. So if you find a picture on Wikipedia, and you want to know, not only do you want to know if you can use it on WikiTree, but you want to know how you're going to explain it in the box that we ask you to tell us how you know it's copyright free. If you click on the picture itself, let's back up a minute. I think let's show them how we did this. Oh, you just clicked on the picture there. Okay.
Yeah. So if you click on the picture,
so
it's isolated, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah. So click on the picture and then go down to the bottom, and there's a little blue box there that says more details. And if you click on that, it's going to give you a whole bunch of information about that picture. You can then let's look at what's right next to the picture there. Some of the options they give you. You can download it. You can and again, I can't read that. It's blurry on mine.
You can download it, so you can upload it somewhere else. You can use this file, which means you're just going to copy the link and use the hyperlink, maybe on a web page or G2,
which you can do on WikiTree.
Yeah. Use this file as well. You can email it. Maybe you want to email it to a friend and say, hey, let's go here for vacation. You can email it. And information about reusing it. So that's more information about copyright, how to use it, if it's banned.
Which I'm going to give you down below. So if you scroll down a little bit, it gives you a summary about the picture. It tells you when it was taken. If the poster chooses to insert that information, if you scroll up just a little bit to that the purple boxes, the other direction. So scroll down. Okay. So in those purple boxes, it tells you where the picture was taken, when it was taken, who took the picture. If you want to give credit, which you should, to the photographer, it'll give you the name of the photographer. Often, not always. Sometimes the information is left blank. That's up to whoever posted it to put the information in there. Then if you scroll down in this big gray area here, it gives you licensing information. And it tells you if you can use the photograph or not. Theoretically,
you can. It's very bold. It lets you know if you can. It's not hidden.
Theoretically, it shouldn't be on Wikipedia if it's not open source, but sometimes it'll say this is not, this image is copyrighted.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to go into. I'd love to do a session on copyright and that, but I'm not able to speak legally on that, so we'll stay away from that.
And people find photos on other websites, collection websites, Facebook, wherever it might be, and they go, "Oh, this is cool. Let me upload it." But they don't actually own that photo, so that's one of the reasons why you might have an issue with copyright infringement.
Yeah, because you could go on right now and upload a picture onto Wikipedia that is not copyrighted. Somebody else is going to come along and take it and post it somewhere else, and that chain gets started, and nowhere along the line was it ever free of copyright. So just because you see it on Wikipedia doesn't mean you can. But also, when you post a picture on WikiTree, you need to fill in the little boxes that says, well, what gives you the right to repost this picture? And they tell you here what it is. A lot of times it'll say Creative Commons attribution, or it's licensed under Creative Commons. That means that it's been released into the public domain. There's it may be because it's an old photograph from the 1800s, and it's wasn't covered by copyright. There's any number of reasons. Sometimes there are film stills that are no longer copyrighted. There could be just all kinds of different reasons that it may be available. But for me, it's not so much. It's great to tell me if it's copyright free or not. But if it is copyright free, it spells out, and I can just cut and paste my rationale from Wikipedia over to WikiTree.
And do you usually use this screen to do that, David?
I do.
To get the, because I don't know. David and I were talking beforehand. I usually use. Let me come over to the River Trent again. I usually will look at that screen, and then I'll come over to the isolated screen, is what I call it, and I will download, but I'll copy here the attribution, and then also the title. A lot of times I'll use their title, which is also over here. I like their title. Most people are uploading these photos. Their title makes sense. It's descriptive. That's one of the requirements. And it helps the link. So when you're talking about the countries, it helps. If you're not going to go visit Zimbabwe anytime soon or have somebody over there, then you could use these right there. You could use the photos.
Right. So the pictures that I just showed,
yeah,
I made sure they were copyright free, and also, so when I look at the picture, I see waterfalls, but I don't know what that is. So I go over and look at this page, and it gives me a title that explains a little bit more clearly.
And the licensing and everything you want. It's the same attribution. What you're going to do is just copy this when you upload it. When you upload a photo in the WikiTree, there's that little box. You can't go anywhere. I see a lot of interesting things that are put there. You need at least 30 characters. So some people say, this is a photo. This is my photo. Well, that's okay if it's yours, if it's your own personal one. But if it's one from somewhere else, like Wikidata, Wikipedia, or Pedia, you got to give the full attribution. So that's pretty cool. And I agree with Aaron. I use it all the time, and I imagine you do too, David.
Use it daily.
What would you like to show next?
So why don't we go look at Wikidata?
Okay.
Which is another page that I use almost every day. And so let's actually let's go to an article.
Okay.
And then go to Wikidata from there.
Let's see. Any article?
Yeah. Why don't we? Who's that person right there?
That's what I'm looking at. There we go.
Lady there.
This is Ukrainian linguist and politician.
Okay, so let's go to her profile page.
Okay. And I never.
Oh, are we on her Wikidata page?
This is
okay.
Wikidata. Yeah.
All right. Well, if we can, I don't know if we can go back straight to her.
Because usually I come up. So let me scroll down. And also, just so you know, if you add Wiki, if you're part of the link builders that Azure runs for the ambassadors project, what you can do is come to the Wiki data page as well and add the profile of the notable person that you might be working on. Because if you're in Wikipedia, you're notable. David and I, we think we're notable. We really do. But we don't have a Wikipedia page in 3 languages? So we would need some. So keep that in mind too. But if I scroll all the way down, also what I like is it shows you all the different languages.
Yeah, it tells you how many languages it names them.
So I'm going to pick the English one to go to her Wikipedia page.
Okay. And so the reason I wanted to go to the Wikipedia page was just to show how to find the Wikidata page. And we did that through tools. And do you have
And then if you want to go, if you're at the profile and you want to go to the Wiki data page, then there it is under tools up top. You can click on that.
Tools right about the middle is going to be the Wikidata. Yeah. That'll take you back to the page that we were just at.
That'll take you back to this one. And so you can go back and forth.
Okay, so I'm going to ask to go to, let's go to someone famous. Let's go to Marilyn Monroe.
Okay.
Okay.
Computer's a little slow. Bear with me, guys. I don't know what's going on. We've been having bad storms. I don't know if everybody else has been having bad storms or not.
It's timing now.
I know it's bad timing that this is really, really slow. There we go. Okay.
Okay, so now we'll go up to tools. And we'll scroll down to Wikidata.
And I love that you picked this page because I did a WikiTree ambassador short for earlier this year, and that is the photo that I used for. And again, give me just a second. Usually my internet is super fast.
Yeah, once it gets to the next page, we'll stay there.
And for some reason, these storms are just having a fit with everything going on. It normally too, for the pages, there's multiple photos that you could also use. Some people just use one. Some people use a whole bunch. And you mentioned studio stills, and that's kind of what a lot of those are. Okay, so now we're at her Wikidata page.
Okay, so first thing I want to show you up by her name. This is particularly important for living notables, but right after her name, there's a number that starts with Q. That's her Wikidata ID. And if we put that on her Wikipedia page, it links WikiTree to Wikipedia. And we get all kinds of additional information available to us by doing that, statistics and stuff. So whenever you're creating a notable, we really appreciate you putting the Wikidata number on the page. And people are often happy to do that, but they don't know where to find the Wikidata number. So that's where you find it.
I can make it quicker for you too. If you have B, all you got to do is come over. I can say make it quicker. I will. Let's see if we. I remember when I first started WikiTree and working my very first notable. It was really interesting because they said put the Wikidata number, and I was like, oh no, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? This has been around, I guess, all year, maybe a little bit longer. But if you go up to tools and you have WikiTree B, you see the template is the curly and the brackets are the link. So the template being the curly, if I just click on it, there's your whole wiki data. You just copy it. And that's what David says. If you put this on the WikiTree profile page, that gives you that link
It gives you the
It
link.
does everything you want to do. You might say, why would I use the curly versus the bracket? Keep in mind that the curly is the actual template that Notables would like you to use. And this is just, I call it informational. Sometimes I'll just put it in a profile. Like if it's a singer and maybe it's about a song, or maybe a singer that they sung with, or a guitarist, then I'll use that as a link in the middle of a paragraph. But this is a link. David, and Notables, you guys like the data, right? The wiki data number.
The wiki data number, not well, it's good for Notables, but there's a lot of behind the scenes information that we're able to get when that's on there. So, for example, our living Notables, if somebody passes away and Wikipedia notes it, we get notified, and we can then open up their profile.
Really? Oh, that's a really cool tip. That's a little insider
But if it doesn't
information
have
there.
that information, sometimes it'll still come around, and we'll get that. But if we don't have that link between the two of us, the two companies, it's harder to get that info.
This is like a little news flash. So when somebody dies, normally somebody goes up on G2G to announce, open the profile, open the profile. You guys are already on top of it. You guys probably already knew.
Well, so when you hear it on G2G, you're hearing about the superstars and the fairly big names, and that's actually quicker because we don't get a report every day, or it's not in real time. It's next week or whatever, and Aless handles that primarily at his end. But what it does do is tell us all about all those obscure notables, those not so famous notables whose deaths don't necessarily get reported in the headlines.
But that's really cool. That's really good information.
So that helps us.
And one other thing I want to mention, you see that this particular lady, it says WikiTree, but I can't do anything with it. If I go back to,
she doesn't have a Wikipedia page. That's why I had a WikiTree page, which is why I moved to Marilyn Monroe.
I love that. Thank you for picking that. And and then if I come here, of course, Marilyn Monroe has one. If you click on it, I'm just going to right click. If you click on it, boom, bam, boom, it takes you straight to WikiTree. How cool is that? So if you like creating notables for the country that you're working on, you can instantly see if there's.
And if you don't have B, so let's go back to Wikidata.
And that would
Marilyn
be
Monroe.
Right. Oops. Let me get it back, guys. Hold on. I'm still back at the wrong one. Sorry, David. Let me bring it back. Well, let's try Arena. How about Arena? And let me bring up Marilyn one more time, because she should have her wiki data.
Oh yeah, let's see.
There we go.
Okay, so look at how that's that was formatted. It says Wikidata : and then it has the Q number. If scroll all the way, drag your all the way to the very bottom.
Okay. And she's got a lot of information. This is a really detailed one. So nobody get vertigo or anything. I'm going kind of fast here. That's a lot of data.
And this is what's really cool, being that WikiTree starts.
Look at all these languages.
Now let's go to the top. Go back up to the top of the language. Normally, you're only going to have 5 or 6 languages there. She's got quite a lot. Okay. Scroll just a tiny bit more.
Scroll up. There you go.
Yeah. And you'll look, it says WikiTree person ID. Because we start with W, we're the last one on the list. So you can always just scroll right to the very bottom of the page. It'll be above the languages. But again, usually you only have 4 or 5 languages there. Maybe a couple dozen. But
and you're allowed to enter this. So if you just created a notable and you took that Q number that David's asked us to do and put it on a profile, come back to the wiki data page, and what you would do, I won't scroll all the way back up, but there's a little link that says add, and you can add, and you just say WikiTree person ID. If you start typing it in the little box, it'll come up, and all you got to do is put the profile, the full link, and it will configure it for you.
Now, up above that box, are dozens of other websites that have information on Marilyn Monroe. So if you're researching her,
Lots of genealogy, find a grave, family search,
and it's got the ideas for there. So if you need sources, there's a bunch of sources for you.
I mean, this is just great. You know, this is a great example too that you showed. I think she's well known.
Yeah, and Marilyn Monroe has a ton of information here, but even more obscure people. The individual we were just looking at, the Ukrainian lady, she has all this on her page too. It's just she didn't have a WikiTree link. But if you go to her Wikidata, if you scroll down to the bottom on hers, you'll probably see fewer languages, and you won't see a WikiTree.
No, you shouldn't see a WikiTree. She is more than I thought. That's interesting. So, yep, we're not seeing.
So you see
a YouTube channel. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, if you go down to the languages, you'll see that's much fewer than Marilyn had.
Yeah.
And then you don't see, because at the very bottom you don't see WikiTree. You can be fairly certain she doesn't have a WikiTree profile. So if you're wondering, you want to create a profile and you don't know if they have a WikiTree profile, if you can't, you do a search on WikiTree, but you can come here and
you just add a statement.
Now it's possible she has a WikiTree page where it's written in a different language, or where it's they entered the name differently, but 90% of the time or more you're gonna be able to tell here. And then like Sandy says, you can just add once you create the page, you can add the ID here. And
once I just start typing, it'll come up. I just pick the WikiTree person ID. You're gonna put the whole link. You're going to publish. You do not have to be signed in, but as you notice, I'm not logged in to my Wikipedia account. It'll just take from my IP address. But anybody can do this at all. I'm just going to cancel out. So somebody wants to create a profile for this person, or any Zimbabwe ones, that's how you do it. And that's how you link to WikiTree.
And up here at the very top, we kind of start at the bottom and work our way up. But real quickly, this Wikidata page has information pulled from all kinds of different sources. So it's going to list her birth date and her parents' names and her occupations and all that. Even if they're not in her Wikipedia article, there's going to be information here that you might be able to use.
I don't think people use this page as much as they think they could value from it. But it, like David said, there's a lot of good little hidden details in here.
Yeah, if I'm doing, a Russian notable, a Ukrainian notable for that matter, and I can't figure out how to find records, but I can come here and I can see that she's got her parents are listed and maybe a sibling's listed or another relative, and I can go put those back on WikiTree and create a few more profiles.
And there's great little data like you could add to improve her bio, which I love. Member of the Greek Catholic Church, for example.
Well, and right there, so she's a member of the Greek Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
So you may be able to find church records from the Greek Catholic Church. At least not to be bothering with the Protestant churches and the other churches. Very good point. Now, there's other tools. We kind of got into the notables, which is where my head often goes, but we're out of time tonight. But we will next time. I'll get some info on how to actually do geographic research, researching your country and your other locations. So we'll do that next time. But for tonight, I think we have covered what we're going to be able to cover. And I believe Sandy's going to be with me again next month. Okay. Did I not tell you that? No, but okay. But I don't want to know where we're going. Yeah. Keep it a surprise. Next month, August. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Betsy's away in August again.
That sounds great.
Yeah, so we will pick another country, and again, we'll talk about some hints on how to research geographically using Wikipedia.
You guys are going to love that tip.
Besides just the encyclopedic elements. Okay, and again, if anybody has any interest in running a project, send me an email and we can get you started. If you don't want to run a project and you just want to be a member, that's fine too. Members can be as active or as inactive as you choose. If you just want to be on there to talk to some people that have similar interests, that's fine. If you want to actually, oversee some mini projects, that's fine as well. But we've had a lot of countries that still need some assistance. So anybody that's interested, or if you have any ideas that you've been kind of racing around in your head and you don't know where to take them, let me know. And if we can't work with them, I can probably send you to the right people to do that.
Great. So jump on board, jump on the global train, and especially if you have a foreign language and can translate into English, we Americans appreciate it.
Yeah.
And is that a wrap? Are we done?
We are done.
Okay.
Thank you everybody for coming, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
See you in a couple of weeks. Bye, guys. Bye.